Hi my friends, welcome back to the GeForce Grotto and another GeForce G-Sale Gets episode. Um, I have some really great stuff to show you guys. I never really find anything like this. I really felt like Scott Squatch or CGR this past weekend with all the great stuff I found. Every garage sale I've been going to, I've been asking if they have old video games, and this weekend it just seemed to work out very well for me. Almost everyone said they had something that they either would sell me or they didn't want to sell, or that they had already sold maybe a year or two before. Normally I just get shot down and everybody says no, they don't have anything. But yeah, so I don't know how Scott does it. I had to make a little cheat sheet for a recap of the whole day. This was this past weekend. Saturday and Sunday, June 11th and 12th. Started out the day. I looked at some Craigslist ads, and one of them was they started on Friday, and they advertised like a Nintendo and a television, I guess. So I took a chance to see if they still have it on Saturday. I went out there. They didn't have it, of course. I went around to a couple more garage sales over in that area. Nothing, just maybe some 360 games, stuff like that. Came back to a different area, a different town. Stopped at 3 or 4 garage sales. Saw maybe like some Wii games. That was about it. One lady I talked to, she was probably about my age. She said she had an NES and a TurboGrafx 16, which she would not sell to me. Talked to her a little bit about that, but she wouldn't part with anything. And let's see, get to my cheat sheet here. Yes, I went over that. Okay. So my first find of the day was in an older part of one of the towns around me. Which is kind of like where I like to go garage sailing. It has houses fairly close together. They're older houses, older families. You'd think they would have stuff from this era, from the 80s. So that's where I like to go. When I pulled up to this house, I just had a feeling that there was going to be something there. I don't know if you've ever had that feeling before, but they had a whole driveway full of like boxes of shit. And I went up to the late woman there and I asked, do you have any old video games, Nintendo, Sega, Atari? And right away she goes, Super Nintendo. I was like, oh great, yeah, I'd like to see that. She's like, yeah, we just didn't have put it out yet. So I was like, well, thank goodness. So she went inside. Her kid brings out the bag of stuff. She lets me take a look at them, and I start going through the bag. So I believe there's like 9 or 10 games here, or maybe 11. I'm not sure. We got like a pretty rough Miss Pac-Man, and these are all like really nasty, dirty. We got Super Black Bass. I even said to the lady, I'm like, geez, these are really dirty. And when I was asking her for the price. We got Terminator 2. Caesar's Palace. And of course, all my friends are the only ones that watch these videos, so you've all on my Facebook friend list, I guess. So I'm sure you've seen most of the good games on here already. These are not the good games. We got Monopoly. And now we get into sort of the good games here. Got a Jungle Strike. Super Mario World. Super Buster Brothers. Earthworm Jim. Super Mario Kart. I don't know if you can see all this dust on here. These are really gross. And the best one of them all. As soon as I saw it, I said, yes, I'll take these. I asked her, how much do you want for these? She says, 50 cents each. Says, give her a $5 bill. I said, here you go. And needless to say, I was very happy. That really started, well, got me going for the day. Started off a pretty shitty day. But that really gave me determination to keep going and to keep looking. So that was the first find of the day. The second find, by this time I was making my way over to a Goodwill just to go check the Goodwill, because the day really wasn't turning out that well. I stopped and asked the lady if she had any old video games. She said she had a Wii. I asked her, well, could I see the games? I'm not really interested in the Wii. She brought up Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort. She originally just had the game with it in the box. I said, do you have the condom and the Motion Plus adapter? So she went back in and got that for me. I asked her how much she wanted. She said $5 for Wii Sports Resort and $2 for Wii Sports, so $7 total. And then another garage sale I stopped at. I went up and asked if they had any video games. She just pointed to the table. There was like three DS games on the table. They had Mario 64 DS for $3. I picked it up, I opened it inside. There was also Super Mario Advance. So I was like, yeah, that's a pretty nice bonus to get that in there for this game for $3. I asked if she had any video games. She said she did, but she was one of the ones who sold them a couple years ago. And now we get into this sort of a community garage sale. There was a bunch of houses all having the garage sale on the same day. And it was in an area where they're pretty big houses, and there's a pretty good amount of land in between them. So they're pretty well spread apart. Not the ideal place that I would like to garage sailing, because I'm thinking they're newer families, they wouldn't have stuff like this. Plus, just the population per like square mile or whatever is not as good as like an older neighborhood where the houses are closer together. So I tend to stay away from going to look in these areas. But I got into this community, and there's just a bunch of sales one after the other. And I stopped at all of them, and I asked at all of them. And I already messed up. So, actually, before I got these, I have another story. Pretty close to my house, there was a sale I stopped at. Asked if they had old video games, and I was talking to the wife, and she said, yeah, we do. We got, I think, the first thing she said, we have a TurboGrafx. I was like, really? Another person who has a TurboGrafx I'm talking to on the same day. I asked what they said. They also had PS1, PS2, like Genesis, NES. And I was talking to the wife, and she's like, hold on, let me ask my husband, they're his, if he'll sell them. So I started talking to the husband, and we were talking for like 20 minutes about what he has. I asked if I could see him. He invited me into his house, showed me the TurboGrafx, and he pulled out a stack of like 12 games, complete in box. I offered him $100 if he would sell it to me for everything, just for the TurboGrafx. He thought about it for a while. He said no. I offered $150, everything that was in my wallet. He still said no. He said he would have to think about it. He took my name and number. He actually gave me a flyer. He's like a small engine repair guy. So he gave me his flyer with his name and number on it if I wanted to call him back. But he wasn't sure. He said he wanted to do some research to see like what they're worth, I guess. So that'll probably never go anywhere. But whatever. It was just kind kind of neat seeing, talking to somebody who also had another TurboGrafx on the same day. So that was after I found those Super Nintendo games. So now we get back to that community garage sale with all the big houses. And I get to a sale, and there is like a wife and husband and their daughter. And I ask, they have some games out. They have some PS2, Xbox 360, some Wii. And I ask if they have any older games, and the daughter says, yeah, we got some like Game Boy games and stuff. I'm like, great, I'd like to see them. So she goes inside, she brings out this bag, lets me start looking through them. So as I'm doing that, she's talking to her parents, and I heard her mention something about Pokemon. I'm like, oh, do you have any Pokemon games? She's like, yeah, but we want to keep those. So basically, I got a bag of Snickle Fritz here, as CGR would like to say. Really no very good games in there at all. But I asked how much she wanted for the bag. She said $5, so I got 27 Game Boy Advance games for $5. Like I said, it's all Snickle Fritz. But the dad was mentioning something about, oh yeah, I just threw away all the boxes for those games, and my heart sunk a little bit. Even though it's Snickle Fritz, it still hurts your heart to hear somebody threw away, the boxes for the games. So that whole bag is $5. Move on to the next sale in this community. There's like an older lady and a younger lady there. I asked if they have any old video games. The younger lady said yes. She's probably about 30. I go, oh yeah, what do you have? She's like, I have an NES and a Genesis. I'm like, okay, well, if you'd like to bring them out, I'd like to see them and possibly buy them for you and make you an offer. So she goes in for a couple minutes, comes back out with a Model 2 Genesis with the cords and a controller, complete in box Aladdin, Sonic 2, Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic 1, and then she said she couldn't find the NES, so maybe she thought her dad sold it on her already. But she did have some games. She had Excitebike, Jackal, Kung Fu, and Mario 3. So I asked how much we like for it all. She said $15. I said, I would take that for $15. So this was like the third sale in this community, and I found something at every sale. Move on down the street to the next sale. They had like some Wii junk out, like the sports controller things and stuff like that. There's a younger kid there. I asked if he had any old video games he'd like to sell. He said, yeah, he had some Xbox and PS2. I said, I'd like to take a look at them. Could you bring them out? He just brings out the Xbox games. Really nothing of any interest there. The best game was Battlefront, which I got for $3. I asked about the PS2 games. He asked if he had any RPGs or anything like that. He said no, it was just action and adventure games and whatever. So that was that one. The next sale I asked was an older gentleman. I asked if he had any old video games. He said yes, he did. It was the theme of the day. He said he had an NES, I guess, and I asked if I could, if he'd like to sell it. He said no. His daughter was interested in keeping it for her kids, I guess, or whatever. If I wanted to leave my name and number, he could call me. I was like, that's fine. If she wants to keep it in the family, don't worry about it. But yep, he said he had something. He had an NES. He wouldn't sell it. That was a common theme of the day. Like I said, either they had something and they wouldn't sell it, or they already sold it, or they had something for me to buy. Very few people said no, they don't have anything at all. So the next house down from him, I went up and asked. It was a guy. I asked if he had any old video games. He said the only thing we got is like this game, this one game in here, Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast. I was like, oh really? So I was inquiring if he still had the console or any more games. He said no, I don't think so, and couldn't quite remember what he had, and like what shape it was and what color it was. I was probably like, well, it's probably the Dreamcast if you have a game for it still. So I asked how much he wanted. He said 50 cents. So I gladly took that. The next house down from him was another older lady, probably almost 60, I guess. I asked if she had any old games, like I always do. She said, you know what, I just donated a box of games and systems, and I was like, oh really? Another phrase you hate to hear while you're out garage selling, that they got rid of their games, or they just sold their games, or they threw out the boxes. And I was still talking to her a little bit. She said, well, you know, maybe I still have something left. Name off some of the systems you guys play. And before I could start naming any systems, she said, PlayStation. I think I have a PlayStation still. She's like, hold on, let me go inside and go check. So she comes out with this box of stuff. There's a PlayStation in it. Original PlayStation with one controller and the cords for it. In the box was kind of like some random PC games, some Quake expansion pack, Quake 2 expansion pack, PC game, The Beast Within, another PC game, Police Quest SWAT. And then there was the sampler disc here. There's Parappa the Rapper, Armored Core, Kart World Series, and NFL Game Day 98. And then there's like this music CD case here. It has a copy of Gran Turismo in it. And then the Need for Speed. Kind of shitted up, but. And then the best out of these few games was Resident Evil 2. And I got kind of scared when I took the case because disc 2 was missing, but it ended up being in the PlayStation. And this was actually in very nice condition. Both disc and manual were very nice. Asked her how much she wanted for it. She told me to make her an offer. I said $5. She said, how about $7? And I said sold. So I stopped at a couple more after that on Saturday, but that was it for Saturday. Now on Sunday, I was out doing some errands, and I looked on Craigslist, and I saw an ad. I always search for video games, and one said video games. And then there's some pictures, just like some furniture and like some computer stuff. So I figured they probably only had like PC games. But I decided to stop at that sale. And when I did, I asked if they had any old video games. And it was like a younger kid. He was probably late 20s, I would say. And he said, actually, yeah, I do. I wasn't planning on selling them, but you could bring them out and let you have a look at them. So he walks right into his garage, walks up right to this box, and he pulls out this box. This big box here. Puts it on a table, and we start looking through it. And there was a Dreamcast in there, but he said he couldn't sell it. I don't know why. Maybe it was his friends or something that he couldn't sell. But everything else he could sell. I asked him what he'd want for the whole box, and he thought about it for a minute or two, and he was like, I don't mean to insult you, but how about, and I'm thinking, oh great, here we go, he's going to ask for a couple $100 or something. He goes, how about $80? And I was like, yes, I can do $80. So from what I could see in the box, it was well worth it. We'll start with this little bag here. It's got like some accessories in it. I don't know, this little tiny dance pad thing for like an Xbox or a PS2. It's like a broken Mad Catz controller in here. Don't care. The PlayStation AV cable. This is a PSP bag. And there was a copy of Mega Man 8 in there. And a nice little surprise, a Final Fantasy 3 manual. It's in pretty rough shape. If anybody really needs this, get a hold of me on Facebook. Give me a couple bucks for shipping and I'll send it to you. Now we'll get to the Super Nintendo. It's kind of nasty. Yellowed on the bottom, Super Nintendo. Some crap in there. There is 10 games. Rise of the Robots, Lion King, Donkey Kong Country 2. This will go in my collection to replace the one with the bad label that I have. Top Gear 2, my favorite racing game on the Super Nintendo. Vortex. NBA Jam. Super Mario All-Stars. Donkey Kong Country. And these are all games in pretty nice shape. Nice labels on them. We have Warp Speed. And Biometal. And it came with the AV cable, 2 controllers, and an AC cable. And then there was also a Sega Saturn in the box. It's with the, what do they call this? I forgot it already. Whatever they call the gun. There's another cheap blue gun. There is the 3D control pad. And regular control pad. And the AV cables for that. I guess there is no power cable for that, which is kind of disappointing. Although it does just take a regular cable, so that's okay. I can find one of those. And then there was this little case of games here. So the first one is this bootleg sampler. And we got Christmas Night Sampler and Daytona USA. And all of these are fairly scratched up, obviously from being in and out of this case. Super steep slope sliders and Virtua Cop. Virtua Fighter 2, and Battle Stations. We got Nights into Dreams and Sonic 3D Blast. And I assume that the 3D controller and the Nights into Dreams came as a package because this is not for resale. I don't know much about Sega Saturn games. And the last two, Virtua Cop 2 and Panzer Dragoon. Panzer Dragoon was in the console, and I almost shit myself when I saw it. And I was hoping it would say Saga, but it didn't. But it's still a nice surprise to find inside the console. So that was it. That was all. Like I said, I got that whole box for $80. Fantastic deal. I just felt great to find something finally again. I'd like to say thank you guys for watching, and take care, guys.